Let's compare some wrenches for a second. Hi, and welcome back to the Messy Garage. Today I'm going to do a real quick look at sort of comparing my wrenches. The Torque Test channel did a great comparison and continues to do very good work on sort of tightness and how well especially the anti-slip type wrenches work on fasteners and how tight the tolerances are and things like that. And it kind of called into relief for me anyway that the Tekton wrenches I use is kind of my everyday set. These are actually all my wrenches, or I own all of these, and I actually have a couple other sets sort of lurking around in various spots. Travel sets in a bag that already has some in it, my tool roll, and stuff like that. Anyway, so what I would say is I kind of noticed it made me think about how kind of loose I felt like my Tekton wrenches were. Now, to be clear, they work totally fine. I mean, I've never had this round off anything. It just didn't feel, super tight and confidence inspiring when I put something on there. So I saw a while back, and I did an unboxing of these, that the icons were on sale. This is the regular icon, not the anti-slip. I actually did recently buy the anti-slip also, which is going to replace this SK set. But anyway, so, I got the icon set, and I would say the subjective wobble is a lot less. It feels tighter when I kind of look down. The gap on the bolt seems a lot less than the Tekton, although it's really hard to see on camera. But just this feels very loose, and this feels less loose. But it's not as much as now that I start comparing them. So I decided to kind of look at the rest of the wrenches I have and see sort of what it felt like. And I would say this is my Sunex kind of little travel roll, if you will, and it feels kind of somewhere in the middle between these two. It's also much shorter, obviously. My SK, which is an anti-slip design, feels super loose. And I don't know if that's part of sort of how it works, where it's trying to gain purchase as you kind of pull around and engage those teeth that are part of the, let's see if I can get on there, yeah, part of the design. So I'm not really holding that against the SK per se. And the reason I'm selling them is just I have other things that kind of replicate the ratcheting piece that I like about this, and I kind of wanted something a little narrower in its face and, ranked better, to be honest, which was the icon in terms of it's like number 6, I think, currently as I'm recording this on the Torque Test channel list, with things like Matco and others above that. But anyway, and then there's Hazet. I'm not sure if these are actually made in Germany. I think these are actually made in Taiwan because they have the ratcheting end. But obviously a company that is going to demand a lot. And I would say of the 3 longer regular face, this definitely has the least slop. Feels like I almost have to kind of get right to allow it to enter, because it seems pretty tight and it feels very positive, if you will, on the fastener. So just a little quick thing on wrenches. I would tell you that I don't think any of these are bad choices. Sometimes people, notice that people talk about the beam, like how this is very rectangular as you look at it, but it's such a nice beefy handle. It is not uncomfortable on your hands at all. I would say the Sunex one is thin and has this sort of raised panel thing, much like the old Craftsman, but doesn't really feel nearly as comfortable as that when you grab on it and pulls, and you kind of Here, because the rounded edge, it's a little bit thin, which is not the worst thing in terms of approach and whatever. Also feels very comfortable because the chamfer around is very nice, very similar for the Icon, maybe a little less chamfered, a little less round, more of a peak. But grabbing on it, I don't feel like there's anything going on there that is uncomfortable. And this is the Hazet, again, very rectangular, but that creates, in my mind, a better handle in some ways compared to something like this, right? So no problem, cranking on that either. So I guess my point is this, like, the slop thing, what you don't want, and I have great faith in the torque test channel, you don't want something so loose that it either spreads or rounds off the fastener. And from what I have no worries about any of that, to be honest. Like I said, the sloppiest of this group is this SK, but I think the anti-slip is going to not allow me to round off a fastener unless I'm really in trouble, right? So anyway, I think a lot of people compare Tekton and Icon a fair bit. And I would say this, I think Tekton is great. Their customer service is great. If I ever heard something, I have belief that they would immediately send one out to replace it. That's every story I've ever heard about Tekton is they're fantastic. And the couple small times they've had opportunity to give me customer service, not on a failed tool, but on a failed shipment, by FedEx, not by them. They've been wonderful. I would say my feeling here is Tekton is kind of in the same ballpark, but I think it's not quite at the level. If you really start going in and looking, there's more of a precision going on. It's hard to show on camera probably, but this has a much more precise broaching. This is a little more rounded. The net of it is, I do think Icon is a slightly more premium tool, but they charge for it. So, no mistake to be made, in my opinion, between the two. Tolerance is a little tighter here. Execution is a little sharper, I guess I'll call it. It does have the walk-in, walk-out warranty, assuming it's in stock at your local Harbor Freight. But, Tekton is a great company. And I know they're doing a lot of good things, new made in USA things. Puts them in a little bit of a different price category, and this is a made in Taiwan, to be clear. But, great alternative to what I'll call high-end consumer and pro on their made in USA line, where I feel like this is, prosumer or entry pro, depending on how you want to look at it, and, fine choice also. So anyway, longer than I meant to be. But this is actually going to get shipped to somebody today as their new set of wrenches, because this is replacing it. And just want to do that. So thanks for joining. If you like this stuff, please hit that like button and subscribe. Would be very appreciated. And anything you have thoughts or questions on, if you've seen some of my videos, like my toolbox tour I did recently, on questions you have about some of the stuff I bought and how happy I am or am not with it, please ask. And of course, stay messy.